Hey, good evening, friends. We're live again. This is episode 127 of the yet to be named live stream that I do whenever I can. So if you've got some suggestions on what I should call my live stream, by all means, put it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, put it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So tonight we're going to talk about investing your crypto tax-free. That's the title, tax deferred potentially. Of course, we're talking about IRA, Roth IRA, even potentially a 401k if you're a business, big or small, or maybe you're an individual with an LLC and maybe it's just you and your spouse, two employees. You could actually set up a 401k as I understand it, and then elect the Roth type of setup. And with that scenario, you can put in a lot more with a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, depending on your age and your income. I think the most that you can put in there is $7,000. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is, for education purposes, for entertainment purposes, for me to share my opinion. I will be covering a platform that I use, I Trust Capital. I almost exclusively talk about, review, highlight, if you will, platforms, tools, technology that I use myself or I've done research on and have plans on using at some point in time. And I Trust Capital is certainly no exception. I actually use the platform. I think this is my third week with my traditional IRA in this particular case. I prefer a Roth, but this year, with the tax situation the way it would be, and given the amount that I put in there, I decided to go with the traditional IRA so they didn't have a big tax liability this year. I do plan on moving a good amount of what's in the traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. So I'll pull up the links here. When you get around to it, go to strammel.info/itrustcapital. If you use my link, you'll get the first month free. There is a service fee in using it, but a traditional Roth IRA or traditional IRA or Roth IRA, maybe on a Fidelity, Vanguard, some of the others, you may not be paying that monthly fee, but you're also limited to the stock market for the most part. And in many cases, sometimes only a few funds. Here you have a large array of cryptocurrencies to pick from, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'll show you here in a minute the list. But and you should be at least roughly getting a 200% return. If you go with Bitcoin over the last decade, it's returned over 200%, somewhere in the 200 to 230% range. Yes, you can even get more depending on the other crypto that you may invest in. Those are arguably even more volatile. Sometimes 10x, sometimes 100x, yes. But you can't go wrong, in my opinion, with Bitcoin. And you may also want to have some Ethereum in there. But I'm going to pull up here in just a moment the website for I Trust Capital, and we'll go through it some. And then we're also going to briefly cover the platform Voyager. It is not a platform for IRA or 401k, that type of thing, but it is my go-to place to buy crypto, sell crypto, earn interest on crypto. And then kind of the third and fourth platforms that I use Celsius. In some cases, you can put your Polygon Matic on Celsius and earn up to 10.51%. On Voyager, it's 5 something percent. So I've found that not only for diversification, for keeping your coins spread out a little bit, but also to optimize the yield that you can earn on your crypto from a yield generation perspective. You may need to be on a couple of different platforms. They each have their own pluses and minuses. I love Voyager, use it a ton. Want to say hello to all of my VGX heroes, Voyager community, Celsius community as well, I Trust Capital community. I'm hoping to build that up even more. They say that it's not how much you make, but it's how much you keep. We all know that, if you just have regular income, then obviously you're going to be paying taxes on that. So it may very well be worth it for you to create a LLC and try to put more money in a 401k in that way. May not be able to do that if you have a 401k with a company that you work for as an employee, but nonetheless, you can certainly have a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. So we're going to get into it without further ado. I'm going to go to I Trust Capital. And again, my link is strammel.info/itrustcapital. And if you go on to their site directly, which you certainly can do, and sign up, that's great. But if you use my link, like I said, you'll get that first month's platform fee, if you want to call it that, of $29. You'll get that for free. Again, I see it being more than worth it. I'm already in just a month of using the platform, up about 30%. But let's talk briefly about how I Trust Capital works. Again, I've already gone through this whole process, so I can attest to the fact that the setup is easy. The hardest part, if you will, is waiting on your money to be transferred from wherever it may be coming from into I Trust Capital. And that's not an issue with I Trust Capital, but normally it takes a while when you're transferring money from one IRA provider to another. Just does. They had to physically send my check to them, so that's slower. You can do a draft. Maybe in hindsight, I should have. I would have had to pay $50, but I could have got it there quicker and probably could have got my Bitcoin cheaper. So in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have been so cheap. I should have paid the $50 and had it wired, but I didn't go through that process. So when we look at how it works, again, it's a simple setup. So you complete the IRA application. You do that online. You can do that well before you're ready to transfer. Once you get an account, you can actually look at what the trading platform would look like. I can't really show you that part because now that I'm already set up, you'd see my personal information, which I'm not going to show. But again, what I will tell you is I'm up about 30%. But you get it set up, you determine what kind of account you want, whether that's a Roth, traditional IRA, 401k. You can also, again, do crypto. You can do gold, silver. So you get set up. You can trade. It's self-directed, so you can trade 24/7, 365. I've talked to the guys at I Trust Capital, and they're working on some improvements. Right now, you can only do market orders. In other words, there's a price at any point in time. You can set the order, and that's the price that you're going to get with a plus or minus 1%, I think they say. But from what I understand, they're going to be adding in the ability to do a limit order to set a price at which you want to buy, or set a price at which you want to sell, since it's going up and down pretty much all the time. You can pick a price within a range if you have time to look at that, set it, forget it, and when it reaches that price, then that trade is executed. They do charge a commission. I believe it's 1% again. So if you're actively literally trading every day or so, it's certainly not much more than like what Coinbase would be. But since this is your retirement account, would not be my recommendation. I don't use this daily and trade. I've pretty much decided the crypto currencies that I want to be invested in. And although I may change my allocation every once in a blue moon, my Bitcoin, for example, that's not going to change. It's going to stay that way for at least the next 5 years, except for adding more into it each year. But you have 24/7, 365 trading. Execution, the trades are executed in real time and settled in seconds. You get an email notification that trade has been executed. You get an email notification that the trade is pending for the few seconds that it's pending, and then you can go to your dashboard and see that trade has actually been executed and see how much you invested in that and what the price was that you acquired the crypto for. They do have secured storage, so you've got custody with Coinbase, which is good. Self-custody would be better, and there are some, in all transparency, there is one company out of Austin, Texas, that's all I'll say right now, that is supposedly coming out with a setup to where you can maintain your keys in a multi-sig environment, which that's intriguing to me. I will say I Trust Capital, from what I've heard, is working on the ability to for you to earn yield, so it would make it like a combination of a Celsius or a Voyager, but with the added benefit of that being in a Roth or a traditional IRA or a 401k. And by the way, I'll get to the comments here in just a second, so keep them coming. I want to keep working through some of this. So you've got your secured storage. Now let's talk briefly about what are the coins. I'm just going to use that term generically. What are the coins that you can invest in on the I Trust Capital platform? Almost every one that I would want, honestly. I have a Voyager account. I actually even have a Coinbase Pro account and a Coinbase account. Use those less. Robinhood, various other ways that I invest in cryptocurrency outside of a tax advantaged account. Can only have so much in that, but so I have other accounts that I use, and so I can get some of the more risky, if you will, tokens, coins, that type of thing, in those other ways. But I want to be very, for the most part, very selective in what I'm investing in with my retirement account. So you've got Bitcoin. I'm not going to talk about all these, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. A lot of people are loving that. Chainlink, Polkadot, Litecoin. I'm not recommending all of these, just showing you what's available. Compound, Uniswap, EOS, Dogecoin, Matic, Aave. Solana is doing crazy right now. I personally would not get into it at this point in time because it's at an all-time high, I believe. I would wait until hopefully there's some kind of a correction. But I think that Solana, I should say, is on a trajectory to be a major player in the space, being a true competitor to Ethereum over time. Some of the others, Tezos, Engine Coin, hearing a lot about the possibilities of that. That's a fairly inexpensive token, so you could put a couple of thousand into that and just wait and see what happens. It could 10x, it could go 100x at some point in time. You never know. And then coming soon is Decentraland. But honestly, I cannot think of one that's missing here that I would want to invest in that is a part of my retirement account, if you will. So that is how it works with regards to setting it up, which cryptocurrencies are available. Now, if we go look here, just briefly, I'll show you precious metals. So you can also, as I mentioned, get into physical gold and physical silver. It's actually stored physically at the Royal Canadian Mint in the UK, in England, Can buy and sell gold also 24/7. You actually can request the physical gold or silver. I do not know how you would take physical possession. In other words, I don't know if there's shipping cost, all those kinds of things. I have not looked into it. Precious metals is not a part of my investment strategy, but if it is something that you want to be a part of yours, then you've got that option there. Again, since it's a traditional IRA or Roth IRA or 401k, you'll need to be familiar with the maximum amounts that you can contribute in a year. Work with your tax accountant, financial advisor, whatever. You might even want to have them look at this platform. Now, if your financial advisor or accountant is not crypto savvy or pro crypto, they may or may not give you the best advice, so keep that in mind. But that's iTrust Capital in a nutshell. I will just briefly pull up so that you can know some of the pricing, if you will. So as I mentioned, 1% trading fee, so it's easy enough to figure if $1,000 would be what, $10. $10,000 would be $100. You see what I'm saying? Gold is $50 over spot. I'm not a gold bug, so I don't know if that's even good. Honestly, $250 over spot per ounce on silver. That actually sounds pretty good for the silver. There is, as I mentioned, a $29.95 monthly account fee. If you use my link, that first month is going to be free. And once you get your account, you can get a referral link and you can refer others. And, for every referral, you get a month free. So, that's one way that you can defray that expense. But as I said before, completely worth it to me. You may want to, after you use my link, go and look at some of the knowledge base items, kind of like a blog. And you can read through the one here on custody, iTrust Capital versus Bitcoin IRA. Bitcoin IRA is a what you might want to call a legacy platform that's been around for a while. iTrust Capital, from everything I can tell, is significantly better than that platform. But iTrust Capital wasn't the first to the table. But I think that they've got the best offering now when you consider being able to do that. So that's the knowledge base. We've talked about the pricing. We've talked about how it works. Again, you go to strammel.info/iTrust Capital, get signed up, tool around the platform. Look, you can kind of get a sense of how you buy and sell. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And let's go back to comments and suggestions. So again, as I mentioned, if you're live, let me know where you're watching from. If you have a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, or maybe even a 401k, and would be interested in moving this onto the iTrust Capital platform, let me know. You can get in touch with me. Shane@trammel.me, Shane@trammel.me, and be more than happy to answer your questions. By all means, connect with me on Twitter @ShaneTrammel. Connect with me on YouTube, strammel.info/YouTube. All of these links are in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, any of those other platforms, go ahead and go over to my YouTube channel, get connected with me there, go into the description, and you'll see a number of links that are helpful. As I mentioned, Voyager is another platform that I use. That's my primary place where I buy and sell and transfer crypto. I do have a Celsius account as well. I'm not going to really pull up any screens on Celsius, but Celsius is a lending, borrowing and lending if you will, and yield generation platform. It's like your modern day savings account, but much better than your mom and dad's savings account or certificate of deposit. It's a funny kind of thing to bring up, but I can remember, my mom and dad having CDs or certificates of deposit, getting 17, 18, 19%. And I thought that was amazing. But of course, I didn't know at the time when they were getting that inflation was really high. So even then, those CD rates were not all that good. They're much better than they probably are today. But arguably, they were experiencing 15, 20% inflation. And so it wasn't all that good in hindsight. We are in a high inflationary period right now here in the United States. I'm sure all over the world, many people are experiencing the same thing. They came out with the Consumer Price Index, I believe 5.4%. That's what they're reporting on. I think most of us know that it's quite a bit higher than that. It's probably, again, closer to 15 to 20% is more like the real inflation rate that we're under. And so the divide between the haves and the have-nots, or the rich and the poor, that disparity just is ever growing further apart. Those with assets obviously can stay at par with or ahead of inflation. Those without assets, those that just have cash money or money in the bank, they don't really have any way of staying ahead of inflation, so they spend. They don't save, they spend their money because they know inherently, just naturally, that it's going to be worth less the longer they hold it. But what even those that don't own assets can do, physical assets, can just dollar cost average over time on the Voyager platform, for example. And let's pull up and show that. So again, strammel.info/Voyager. Go in the description and see the code. You'll need to actually enter in the code as well. And when you trade your first $100 traded on the platform, you'll get $25 in Bitcoin. Pretty good deal. I'll get $25 as well, so fully transparent on that. We both get 25. It's a win-win. You certainly can go to Voyager, download the app, get on it straight away without using the link. But one thing you won't get is the $25 free in Bitcoin. But it's not September yet, but here is the for some of the coins. This is not all of them, but this is the interest rates or the the percent rewards that will be coming out in September on Voyager. Polkadot, really attractive at 12%. You should also look into their loyalty program, Voyager loyalty program, VLP. If you buy their VGX token, which is right now, when I looked at it earlier today, somewhere around $3.50, upwards to $3.70. Tomorrow, September 1st, is when the Voyager loyalty program kicks off. Super excited about that. I know all of my VGX friends, all of my Voyager family can't wait for that. There's possibly, who knows, might be some price action. So if you're watching this literally live and you don't have a Voyager account, I recommend that you go strammel.info/Voyager, use the link or use the code in the description, get signed up, download the app, get signed up, at least get some VGX tokens, buy $500 worth, at least, if you can, if you get into that, or 500 tokens, I should say, not $500 worth, but 500 tokens. And I know at $3, that's about 15 or $3.50, that's upwards to $2,000. But a couple of things with that. As you can see here, the VGX token itself, holding that VGX token, you're going to get 7% interest on that. And that token is going to, over time, go up in price because we're talking about Europe. eventually coming onto the platform, New York eventually coming onto the platform, Africa, hopefully Asia. In other words, we're right now just in North America, not even North America, but just in the United States, in most states, but New York is not a part of that. And then we have Canada, which is not a part of that. South America is not a part of that right now. Europe, Asia. So Voyager's already got, I think 1.6 million, something crazy like that number of users already. A lot of funded accounts, and it's only going to grow, so that VGX token is going to go up. So you've got the compounding effect of just earning 7%, even if the token stayed static at, let's call it $4. But as that grows from 4 to 5 to 6 to 10 to 30, you're earning now 7% on that appreciating asset, and you're getting more each month of those VGX tokens as rewards. So on Voyager and Celsius, for that matter as well, if you're kind of new to crypto and platforms that pay you rewards, you get basically your rewards in kind, as it's said, in other words, in the token that you've invested in. So if you had Bitcoin, they don't list it here. No, they do, BTC. So you get 5.75% interest on Bitcoin. And by the way, if you're in the loyalty program and you have 500 VGX tokens, you get a 0.5% booster. So you would be earning 6% on BTC. You do have to have 0.01 of a BTC. And in all honesty, as much as I love Voyager, this is for my community, show allegiance where it's the best, if you will. But Celsius right now pays 6.25% on up to 1 Bitcoin, no minimum. So at the current price, a Bitcoin, 0.01 Bitcoin is somewhere, I think, around in the $400 range. But let's say that you have $300 worth of Bitcoin already, or that's all you can buy. Honestly, you may want to buy that on Voyager, transfer it to Celsius, basically by doing that, get some free Bitcoin on Voyager, and then get some free Bitcoin on Celsius. Now, Celsius, to get the free Bitcoin, I think it's actually $50. You do have to have $400 in crypto that you have basically placed on the platform to earn yield on. So it's close to about the same, right? So it's $400. And what you might want to do to optimize your everything, you could buy enough to have 0.01 Bitcoin on Voyager for a month, earn the 5.75 or what would be 6%, and then move it over to Celsius and get a little bit more Bitcoin. You just have to determine. I mean, it's possible that another 0.25% is not worth you having two platforms or getting a little extra Bitcoin. I, as a content creator, as an educator in the space, if for no other reason than being able to help you as my viewer, as my community, understand the pros and cons of each of the platforms, I find myself participating in multiple platforms. I, again, think Voyager is amazing. I also think Celsius is amazing. They both have their pros and cons, and I use both platforms. If I could only use one, though, maybe that's helpful. If I could only use one platform between Voyager and Celsius, I would go with Voyager. Thankfully, I don't have to make that decision, and nobody would. So it's good that I don't have to make that decision because, again, they both have their pros and cons. But this is Voyager. Again, the loyalty program starts tomorrow, September 1st. Super excited. I would highly encourage you, again, this is not financial advice, but my opinion is go get signed up for Voyager. I've had 3 friends of mine, I think at least 3, maybe 4 this week, and a few last week, sign up, get on Voyager. Don't know that they've all gotten the loyalty token, but I'm happy to be a part of that community. Happy to be in the in a situation where I'll be able to be in the loyalty program. I'll actually be able to get an extra 1% in my case on anything that I've got in there. So Bitcoin, for example, I would be able to earn 6.75% interest on my Bitcoin. I will have to have 0.01 Bitcoin on the platform, but that is a very good return, 7%. And it's hard to beat, putting or buying an asset that's also going to pay you passive income of 7% on the VGX token. So you need to get at least 500 of these and then have at least 0.01 Bitcoin if you want to earn it on Bitcoin. Now, you could have Polkadot. Polkadot, I think, is in the $25 range or so. That would be less, and the number that you have to have is less than 0.01, or equivalent of less 0.01. So anyway, go get signed up. Look at all of your options. You can also earn these rewards on over 30 assets. This is just a few of them. There are many more. Might want to start, though, in my opinion, with something like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I will tell you, and one of my friends signed up with this. One of the ways that Celsius, or one area where Celsius just completely destroys, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but does destroy Voyager on a very particular token on Matic, or some people may know it as Polygon. Voyager right now pays 5.25 and Celsius pays 10.51. So one thing you may want to do if you don't own, if you don't own any, go buy some Matic. It's fairly inexpensive, $1 in the $1.30 something range. Get a Voyager account, buy some Matic, send that Matic on over to Celsius, get at least buy $400 worth, earn 10.51% interest on it. On Celsius, you get paid weekly, which is pretty cool. I love it. Every Monday, you get an email update. You can go into your dashboard and see that you've gotten your rewards. And Matic Polygon is a great project. It has, in my opinion, a bright future. And so that's a win-win. You now have Voyager, a platform where you can at least buy your coins. Maybe you decide to transfer some of them to Celsius. Some of them you keep on Voyager because it's better to earn your interest there. Voyager makes money regardless, right? Whether you buy it, whether you're buying there, whether you're selling there, whether you transfer, it's a win-win. You buy it on Voyager, potentially transfer it to Celsius to earn more yield, like for Matic, for example, or your first 1 Bitcoin. If you're not going to ever own more than 1 Bitcoin, you may want to keep that on Celsius because you can earn 6.25% interest on that first Bitcoin without having any loyalty program participation, whatever. You'll have to think a lot of this through. More than happy to have a Zoom call, with you, whatever, to talk through the options. But again, don't want to overcomplicate it. I use them all of these platforms. But if you just wanted to go simple, you can go with Voyager. And if I was going to do just one thing, I would buy 0.01 at least of a Bitcoin, leave it on the Voyager platform, and get at least 500 VGX tokens. So I would be a part of the loyalty program and start with that. If you're new to crypto, that would be what I would, that would be my opinion. I almost said advice, but my opinion on what one would do: get VGX, buy 500 VGX tokens, buy at least 0.01 Bitcoin. You'll get your $25 in Bitcoin coming as well, so that'll add to that, and then you'll be earning 6% on your Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, we're early, I think, price-wise in this particular cycle. We're talking about people that have been this for a long time talking about anywhere between 100,000 and 400,000 before this bull cycle is over. Have no idea who's right about that. I think it's at least going to 100. So they're right. I think whoever said 100 is partially right. They just stopped possibly too early. It could go to 200, it could go to 250, it could go to 400, but it's also likely to drop at some point. So the other thing I would say to those of you that are new to crypto, it's part of this is a mental game. You need to be able to, if you don't want to be managing it very closely, you need to realize that there are cycles. There are a lot of people saying that the Bitcoin cycle is changing because of institutional involvement, various other things, and the cycles that we've seen in the past may not be so drastic with regards to the corrections. Bitcoin in cycles past have corrected down as much as 80%, but anyone that has held Bitcoin for 4 years or more has never lost money. And on a 10-year per annum, if you will, basis. In other words, if you annualized the return over 10 years, you earned 230% a year, which is amazing. So I think that's where we're going to leave it. Let's see, what else did I want to share? Let me go back here for a moment to just me. Let's see what else we got going on, if anything. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it. We've gone about 36 minutes tonight. Do want to reiterate again, smash that like button. I don't know how you smash the like button, but nonetheless, smash the like button. Hit it however it works best for you. That helps us. That helps get these videos out. Share it with your friends. Do the share. Turn on notifications. Subscribe if you haven't. YouTube is the best way to watch my live streams. I'm streaming tonight on my personal YouTube profile, my page, and several groups that I have. So I want to welcome everyone that's watching in one of the Facebook groups that I have, on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. But come on over to YouTube, strammel.info/YouTube. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join me for the next live. It'll be episode 128. And as I said, give me some thoughts on maybe some names for the show. I'm in no hurry necessarily to give it a name, but I do talk primarily about investing, more specifically, mostly crypto. I do invest in the stock market some, but I'm almost 100% liquid investments into crypto. I do own some stock in some of the Bitcoin mining companies. I did own some stock in Palantir. I think that's still a really good play from a stock market perspective. I think Square would be good. I think PayPal would be good. Actually, MasterCard, Visa, any company involved in one way or another in the emerging crypto landscape ecosystem, if you will, I think is going to be a company that you would want to be a part of. But you can certainly do fine, perfectly fine with, in my opinion, with being only in the crypto space. If it's not fun for you to be here and there and everywhere, it becomes easier just to invest in crypto and not worry about the stock market. I know it was about to end, but I'll just say one other thing with regards to the stock market. Our economic system, with the too big to fail mentality, with the Federal Reserve continuing to basically print money, not physically, but injecting capital into the banking system, and then through that the banks loaning out money very, very cheap, at least to those closest to the banks, and then it's still flowing down to your average consumer with pretty cheap capital. Spend. We have spent ourselves into a significant inflationary state. We're not incented to save, but Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies. But if I could only invest in one, it would definitely be in Bitcoin, because not only does it grow at a healthy 230% per year on an annual basis, it also is, in my opinion, a hedge against inflation. It's a hedge against tyranny, I hate to say, within governments. You can leave a particular place with just the shirt on your back, or maybe you don't even have any clothes on at all. A halfway kid, but in other words, you can leave with almost nothing, or with nothing. Retreat to another place to live, if you will. When you show up, if you have Bitcoin, you immediately have been able to bring your wealth with you. So you could have gold, and that would be great. But if you have physical gold, even if you have possession of it, if you have to go somewhere else, you don't have possession of it anymore if you can't bring it with you. If it's just an investment in a piece of paper, depending on where you have to leave, you may not have access to those accounts anymore. But if you have Bitcoin and you have it stored in a software wallet or a physical hard wallet, you completely control it. No one can take it from you. If you can remember 12 words, memorize them, or have them written down or stored somewhere that's super, super secure, and you can recover that, then you can go literally anywhere in the world and start over. None of us like to think about the fact that that might be truly necessary, but what I can tell you is places like Venezuela, Nigeria, other parts of the world where they have experienced, or they're in the midst of experiencing and going through hyperinflation, Bitcoin has been almost universally what they've turned to be able to transact. Bitcoin was, I think, arguably originally engineered, created for a peer-to-peer, money type system. It has turned into a store of value, gold 2.0, digital real estate, a lot of different things that people have called it. I will say, as much as I like some of the aspects of Ethereum, for example, and the other cryptocurrencies, you don't ever hear of, although it may happen some, but let's be honest and real. When a nation is going through a hyperinflation period, you don't hear of people transacting and using Ethereum to be able to deal with the fact that their native currency's worth, basically nothing. They turn to Bitcoin. There's a reason for that. And so that should be an indication in my mind. If I'm only going to start out with one thing, it would be Bitcoin. Now, that's not the way I started, but I'm 6 months into this journey, probably 250, maybe approaching 300 hours now of study, research, reading, listening to podcast, watching videos, listening to Audible, books on audio, all the things, possibly approaching 300 hours of consuming of content. So now I know better than I did when I first started. I started out with Dogecoin. Perfectly fine with the fact that that's where I started. That's not where I would recommend it now that I know some things. That's not the I'm not of that opinion that that's where someone should start now, but I will give Dogecoin the credit for getting me started. Thankfully, I sold my Dogecoin at around 56 cents. It went up to around 72, I think it was. Maybe it was 79, but in that 70-cent mark, and it hasn't seen anything higher than about 35 ever since. So for some people, they're still well into the money at 35 cents. I would recommend, or my opinion would be to sell it and get into something that definitely has a future. Dogecoin may have a future. I don't think there's any, it's not a sure bet, but I think with Bitcoin's track record being over a decade old, surviving all kinds of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That it has a track record, and it's proven the fact that it can withstand the test of time, that it can take on all of the slings and arrows, if you will, and continue to exist. So my strong opinion is if you're going to start somewhere, start with Bitcoin and get the Voyager token on Voyager. Get on that. If you do, let me know. If you do sign up for Voyager and you don't get an email very soon saying, hey, you've got $25 in Bitcoin, let me know. We can contact support, and they'll make sure and get the referral code in there correctly, and you'll get your $25 in Bitcoin. Otherwise, you won't get it. So it is important that you enter in that code. I wish it was easier. Honestly, if I had one complaint about Voyager, as much as I love it, I did send out a tweet and tagged the CEO of Voyager. He is known to respond and be conscientious of things that are coming to him through Twitter. One of the most involved CEOs that I know in the crypto space. I'm hoping to get Steve Ehrlich is his name. I'm hoping, Steve, if you're somehow watching this, getting wind of this, please, I want to get you on the show. It's my turn. I know you are on a lot of different live streams and a lot of different podcasts and all the things, so I know you're super busy, but Steve, this is a call out to you. I'd like to be able to schedule a time to have you come on the show and let my audience have the opportunity to hear from you. Steve's a great guy, great CEO, great individual from what I can tell. And so Voyager started out as a topic about I Trust Capital, but Voyager, I think, is a great place to come still early, get in on the ground floor, as they say. I know that's used a lot, but get in on the ground floor with Voyager, with the loyalty program, get your Bitcoin, whatever you're into. But you already know my opinions. Get started if you haven't, and take the crypto, get on the crypto wave. And I think that it's going to be pretty hard to go wrong if you pick roughly the top 10 cryptocurrency. Go to CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. Look at the top 10. Start at the top. Invest what you can at the top. Maybe work your way down. Build up some. Do dollar cost averaging. I promise I'm almost done. But also, the other thing I like about Voyager, you can basically set up a auto draft from your banking account, and you can dollar cost average. My opinion is do it weekly. You could even do it daily. Some people literally do it daily, but at least weekly. Dollar cost average into, again, my opinion would be Bitcoin. Even if it's $10 a week, do that and you'd be surprised. I have a lot of statistics, but it's pretty amazing when you look at what even just $1,000 of Bitcoin is going to be worth over the next few years. New billionaires are going to be created. I read that and this will be my last thing that I'll share. It's estimated that in the next 2 years that half of the billionaires in the world will have been billionaires made through their investment in cryptocurrency. And then fast forward, I don't know, another 5 years, decade, and that'll be flipped where it's like 75% of the billionaires made their money through crypto. So there are billionaires and there are millionaires that aren't into Bitcoin right now, and there's going to be a kind of like this flipping, if you will. At some point, the billionaires are going to wake up and they're going to be like, okay, I have to get into this. They can afford to wait. If you're not a billionaire, if you're not a millionaire, it's never too late. But my argument is Don't wait. Get in ahead of these people that should be smart enough and have the resources to get in now and get in a big way. You may have to start out small, but get in at least dollar cost average. Do it weekly. Do that through Voyager, and let me know how it's going once you've done it. All right, we'll come back another day. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but we'll be back. And come join us the next time. Good night.